universe is not selfish in its expression. It's always total. It's like it's always caring for all its parts somehow. Yeah.
What about the kind of the negative energy that, because I've come to understand that there's a negative force and a positive force in the atom as well as a negative, and obviously they need each other to sustain itself.
Yeah.
Now I came across this other book which is again a life-changing in a way. It's called Outwitting the Devil, where the author, he wrote this book in the 30s, but he didn't publish it then because at the time they said if you publish this book, that's it. You know, I mean. Anyway, it came out about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Oh well, anyway, I had where he talk here is basically an interview with the devil, right? Supposedly the devil talking like, you know, that book Conversation with God, similar to that kind of way he was talking to God, but this is he's talking to the devil, right? The devil being the negative energy, and how he says, I have 98% of the world in my hands, and I control them to the minds of men. To the negative force by the force of fear of poverty, fear of love, fear of any type of fear of religion, fear of any kind of fear is where I control. I reside. Yeah. And as you read that, you think, wow, this is so true, because it's true. It's like everyone's got that, you know. And he said there's only 2% of the man that are not under my control, you know, and they're the ones who have a definite purpose in their life, whatever that may be. They have a definite purpose. They're not drifters, right? And
they're not dreamers in the kind of, you know, drifty way.
Yeah, and then anyway, but he says, so the interview goes on about, you know, because how do you come into the mind in the beginning? And he said, well, I come into the mind right at birth, you know, to the parents. The parents are the first people who are my workers. You know, in fact, he goes, my workers are everywhere, the schools, the churches, you know, they're all working for me. Obviously, this is when you realise that if this book had come out in those days, the guy would have been, you know, persecuted, you know. Anyway, it's amazing, and it's true. You think how you know, it all works through to put a negative and fear into the mind of the. And then at a certain stage, there's a law called the law of hypnotic rhythm. That means if this law is so, if one continues to think in a certain way for a long period of time in a negative way, that's it. I've got that mind for good. There's a point of no return, basically. There's a point of no return. That mind can never be turned back, you know, to the light or to the positive side. Who is my adversary? Who you might call God? You know, it's quite amazing. What do you think of this?
It's beautiful. I'm enjoying the conversation at this stage because
it's beautiful. Really,
I speak often that there's a power in us that works to keep our attention and our focus only upon our physical existence, on the transient aspect of ourselves. And that we have to overcome the influence of this power. But you cannot do that casually. There has to be such a power to transcend inside you. Otherwise, you make some small changes, and for most of us, we're happy. We're just a morsel anyway. We're quite happy to just get a little bit of pleasure, a little bit of.
That's correct, because he says that even when a man does attempt to come out of my power, I always rein him back in somehow. So if he's initially conquers the fear of poverty, then I will conquer him by the fear of love. You know, if he conquers the fear of love, I will bring something, you know, and then you realise that, wow.
What's the name of this? This is a book that's out now.
It's the best book I've ever read in my life. It's called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. It's a fantastic.
It sounds very great. I would to read it.
For me, it was a cream on the cake for the recent kind of thing.
Because I think that is a beautiful perspective to be looking from the position of the mind. Because the mind also is God, and the mind also works from God. And the mind is working towards God. You understand what I'm saying? It's the God in us, but something in us loves the noise that comes from the mind. It loves the promise that comes from the mind. It loves the, you know, as long as we are covered in that smell of ego, we are attracted to the ego's ways. So very few break free completely. But many people have
He
the
said 2%
aspiration.
of man is not under my spell. 98% I control 90% of mankind.
Yeah,
The mind of men.
yeah,
And you know and it's kind of pretty much similar to what they say in this kind of Vedanta. There's 1%, there's 1 out of a million, or maybe
yeah.
kind of, it's, you know,
Mm.
yeah, it's a good way to see how. And as you read the book, you realize, wow, this is true, because this is what happens to you. You kind of feel it, you see it. I'm seeing it, how it's working in my child right now. In a way, I see how she's being influenced by the schools, and sometimes I say, don't believe what they say, everything they say to you, or even how your parents are.
But this power is a power that is inside us.
But this power is a negative part of the universe, but it has to exist. He says that
Yeah, it has to exist.
it has to exist.
And also the part of us which, what I would like to say that is a very good news,
Yeah,
is that this power has to be 98% effective,
right.
because 1% of us,
Mm.
which is truly awake,
Mm.
can override the 98% like this very easily. So it's almost like this negative power has to work full time,
Right.
whereas the positive power does not really have to work. It is.
Yeah.
Now, where does the work happen then? The work happens because for a while the positive power
Mm.
can only succumb to the negative power through the state of hypnosis. It's just that it's unaware of its real self.
Mm.
And just that unawareness gives the unreal self, the unreal power,
Mm.
the negative, the dark side, seem to have all this power. It's like fool's gold. It looks exactly like gold,
Mm.
you see? But you have to scrape it to see that it's unreal. But we are so much at the state of being in love with the sheen of it, with the sparkle of it, that we never question it. And also, we need a little bit of that fool's gold in us,
Mm.
which is our own egoic self notion, to really be so attracted to the fool's gold of our mind. So I think it is a brilliant thing. I am not discouraged by this. It's funny enough that you say like this, no? Because I've never put it. Sometimes I have said 99.9% of the mind is
Mm.
rubbish,
Mm.
and only the 0.1% is also rubbish. Sometimes I'm saying like this,
Mm.
because I see that most of what we run after and think and listen to people all the time, what they have to say, less and less I'm listening to them, because more and more I see that almost everything they speak is rubbish. What we think, what we want, what we imagine, what we believe is rubbish. It's just all part of this buzz that comes from the mind. And rarely do you see someone with whom, even someone who says, I really, really want the truth, I really, really want the truth. When you pull them very close, and so you start to find that, we are addicted to other things as well, which we still want the truth, but we kind of want the truth holding on to those things at the same time. So, it is a quite a poignant sort of metaphor and example, really. Yeah.
Mm.
Not because evil is powerful in itself, but because of the power of our destruction that creates for our destruction, in a way, just by the power of destruction. Not because the unreal is true. It is not true.
Mm.
But just because we have forgotten or we're distracted from the truth.
Mm.
And this is why I don't conceive of or speak or try to share these things like something that, you have to do this. I do say to people, if truth is what you're seeking,
Mm.
then you have to turn away from the untruth, or you have to look a bit more, you have to be humble enough to follow advice, true advice and so on. But you cannot make them do it. They have to show that from inside themselves. Something has to be there to be willing to follow true, good advice. Yeah.
So how does this transformation happen to a situation in Mooji, where at a cellular level, where then the being, the physical being, is completely in the same vibration as a...
There has to be a desire. If there's a desire, there must be a desire for freedom, but not to desire freedom for personal ends. You understand? It's not like I want to be free, or I want to realize the truth because I want to be the most important person in the world, or because I want to get what I want. It cannot be for any other reason than the love for truth. When there's the love for truth, everything opens up. The universe opens up its heart to you. But if it is because you cannot trick the consciousness.
But in the meantime, the universe is always giving you what you want, irrespective of if you believe or not.
The universe is always giving you what you think you want.
That's right.
It often gives you, for a while,
it
will seem to give you what you want. In the teenage years of consciousness, it will give it what you seem to want.
But even if you, that's what I'm saying, because consciously you might think, I don't want this, but you're still getting it, because on a subconscious level...
There's some things you want and you will get. There's some things you want and you won't get. You'll get something else that you don't want, but that you need.
Because they say, okay, this law of attraction thing, right? Because there's law, I mean, the knowledge that I've gained recently, it says there's many laws in the universe, just like the law of gravity, there's a law of attraction, there's a law of compensation, which is also the law of karma, in Indian, what you give, you get kind of thing. According to the law of attraction, you're always getting what you want. Now, people might think that, hang on, I'm getting suffering, but I don't want suffering. But it says, what it means is that if your predominant thoughts are always about suffering, that's what you're attracting to yourself more of.
Yeah. Your predominant thought might be dressed up to look like it's something beautiful.
Yeah.
But underneath,
it
is a suffering thought.
Yeah,
and then that's what you will feel. That's what it
and that's exactly what, because in my experience, I found I attracted to myself, because I was totally fearing losing everything. You know, for a long time, you know, I had a fear of poverty, of losing stuff, of, you know, and it all happened to me. And then I realized, well, I actually, even though on a conscious level, I was always really strong-minded. As you know, I was always very strong-minded. Nothing was going to get me down. Nothing. I would never give up. I've always saying these things, but I was always wondering why. But then I realized that actually, because it's deep down, there was a kind of predominant thoughts about worrying about these things. It actually did happen, and it eventually came into being.
Okay.
So now, through that experience, I find that it's better, obviously, to think really positive thoughts all the time, as much as possible, anyway.
Yeah, such as,
you know, focusing on what you want to happen rather than what you don't want to happen.
And do you think that it's possible that something can be totally positive by not wanting anything at all? I don't know if the word positive is the right word, but let's say harmony.
I don't know, because I haven't reached that stage where I feel that you know, of not wanting anything at all. I mean,
no, it's difficult. It's a subtle thing I'm talking.
Okay.
Because I cannot ask you not to want,
right?
Because you got want in your mind.
Yeah.
But you already indicated to me somehow that want may not be a truth. It can be a want that is based upon. It might be a want that can bring you trouble, for instance.
Well, in this case, some of the wants that I have right now, some of them are quite obviously, I feel, obligatory wants, like obviously providing for my child and so on.
Okay, now what I'm saying about this is very few people, you see, give the universe a chance to show what it is without your wants and your desires. Very few human beings
so you say
come
that
to a place, let me say, where they are not in a position anymore to be demanding and wanting and needing, but more cooperating with what life expresses naturally inside themselves.
So
but not themselves, you know. But it's not desires of, oh, I need. They understand that desires are actually fool's gold. You know, it's not that because a desire comes and it should be had. Sometimes a desire comes and it should not be had.
So like Jesus said, whatsoever you want, your Father would give you, or something like more than, I don't know, something. like if you surrender.
No, there's different examples he gave. I don't know if the one you're talking about is the one where he's saying,
give yourself unto the kingdom first, and
no, he says that, you don't need to worry for what you need. Because if you look at the birds of the air, they don't worry about tomorrow, and God supplies food for them. Or look at even the flowers of the field, which are here only for a day or two, and then the next they're gone. And yet not even Solomon, in all of his splendor as a king, was dressed as beautifully as these simple flowers, which are only here for a short time. Then how much more will God take care of you? You see, if he takes care of the birds and the worms and everything, how much more will he take care of you? But he said, first though, seek first the kingdom of heaven, and all these other things will be added to you, will also come for you. But what happens is that when one searches for the kingdom of heaven, which is not a heaven made out of things, but the heaven of a peaceful heart and mind, contentment, to know your true self. That is the treasures that cannot be, no thief can steal. We talk about it like that. When you come to that treasure inside, the other things will be added onto you, of course, because you are in a state of harmony in life, and life does care for life. But the thing is that you will not be wanting them. They're just there. They just happen. At the moment, we see them in a very exaggerated way because we think that we imagine them to be so important. But
I've experienced a state, actually, a glimpse of a state where you're in kind of harmony, and if you think a thought, it just happens so quickly, like it just manifests. But it wasn't a desperate kind of desire for. It was something very innocent and kind of.
It may happen like that for short periods. You may have. I don't believe that you just, every thought you think, it manifests.
No, not every.
But there are some thoughts that you may think about something and it seems to come through. But it's got nothing to do with necessarily with intention. It's
That's
just
right.
sort of like something, as you use the word innocent about it.
Yeah.
And in the end, these are not the important things. You may observe this and say, wait a minute, there's an amazing power in the universe that seemed to, I don't think it's just an accident. It seemed like there is, like my mind did pick up on something that is a kind of truth, but I cannot control that truth. I was just allowed to see it.
So how does the master control it? Get into the state where, in a way, it's its totality of control.
Well, this is the thing: is the master does not control. And what happens is that the master first controls his own tendencies first, and then becomes nothing. And it's only because of becoming nothing that they find that they're in perfect synchronicity with the cosmic current or vibration. And when they're like that, things just happen beautifully around them, naturally. It's not what we think. A master, we have this strange idea that a master, has this tremendous power to control and to do things and so on. But they're not in control of anything. The word control is not a big news or, it doesn't have such a great meaning for one you will call a master. They're entirely empty of desire.
But when Jesus, let's say, did some miracles, let's say, to heal someone, he must have had some intention.
He says, if I drive demons out by the finger of God, you understand? Meaning that, according to the will of God, and because he's in a harmony with that will, it can seem like, of course, because when he's in harmony with the will of God, he acts as God. He said, like God gives me power. It is God who gives me the power to forgive sins, because he speaks like that, because he's speaking to human beings who have a certain capacity for understanding. When they ask him, show us God, he says, but how can I show you God? I am here in front of you. You see? Well, is Jesus saying, I am God, the totality? He says, no, I am God, who is the totality. I am in harmony with God, which is the totality. I cannot say that this face you see is the only face of God. But I can say now, he's not saying that, of course. I'm saying on his behalf, that all that is here is God. His understanding has become so pure. But he does say, trust in your God and my God. He always acknowledged the supreme power, perhaps for the sake of human beings, to not let them too much believe in him as a personal God. He always attributed to the totality. And that actually, I think, cared for him also, made his life more beautiful. He did not say, look, I am the only God. He says, I am God. He is the Son of... In fact, he didn't say that he's God. He was more fond of saying, I am the Son of Man, which is the title of a prophet. He knew the dangers that would come to call himself that I am the God Absolute. And I don't think that this is right for anyone to say, I am the God Absolute. And yet at the same time, I can say that when the sages say, there's only that, and I am that absolute, it is said completely without any ego. And it is so beautiful to hear that said from a human mouth that has the clarity of mind and heart to declare what is the only truth a human being can really say in the end. You see? But I don't see the masters. It's only that the supreme consciousness may manifest in one form, particular kind of qualities, like the abilities to heal or to speak about the future or something like this. But not in everybody it manifests the same. And it doesn't mean that manifestation is greater than another one. It just means that somehow...
But the totality of the whole manifestation is in every being, right?
The totality of what?
Of the whole creation of the whole is in every being, the potential.
Yes, but it's not personal. The potential is there in each body. The body cannot demonstrate the potential of the totality. Each body cannot demonstrate the totality. The body is only an instrument, and each instrument is apportioned a certain amount of limitation and abilities. It cannot be the instrument through which the totality manifests its totalityness. You understand?
So then, are you saying that particular manifestation was predestined to achieve certain kind of qualities
to express within the world of limitation? The world of limitation being the world of the body-mind expression.
So this world being an illusion, because
so is the body-mind an illusion also, which is the womb of where the world springs.
So the world is a thought really in the God mind of God.
Yes. Yes, I am in agreement. The world is an illusion. And also the one who is living in it is also an illusion in the mind of God. And the mind of God is also inside this body, which is an illusion. You see? The thought of God, which is also illusory, but it is divine. And also where the source of the thought of God is also inside this body. God is inside this body. And I don't know what each person means by God. If they mean by God,
is it God being the positive force of the? Because what about the negative thing we talked earlier?
If you speak of God as only the positive force, you make God into a limitation.
Right.
I think the positive and the negative are aspects of God's power. But what I call God is beyond.
But even beyond God, because God being a word and a concept as itself.
No, you see, this is the concept that you may have like that. But I would say that God is beyond the concept. That is my concept, if you may say. God is beyond the concept.
So there's an absolute.
Yes, I would
power.
say that when I relate or think of God in that way.
But beyond this absolute power, there's many levels of manifestation.
Why beyond? It cannot be beyond. Springing out from.
Of it, right.
Yeah, yes.
So could it be possible that even God is an outspringing of this?
Of this absolute consciousness.
Yeah.
You can say, if you limit God to quality, then obviously that God is itself secondary to that which is qualityless. If you give God a quality like positive or negative, I would say for me, God is beyond positive and negative. When I say God, I equate God with absolute for me.
Okay.
So the absoluteness.
So the personal being, the ego, can not possibly experience the absolute or perceive the absolute, right? Can it?
Well, you see, the thing is that there's no such thing really, even in this body, there's no such thing as the personal being.
It's an
There
illusion.
is the true being,
Right.
which is imagining itself to be a personal being.
Okay.
You know, the personal being is actually the shallower dimension of concepts for me. It is the consciousness, the presence, which is the presence of God also, that then dreams itself to be in the body and the conditioning, which converts it into the sense of being a person. And so the consciousness, thinking itself to be a person, is trying to get back to something which it misses.
Or it's kind of playing in the game of the creation.
Well, it doesn't feel like it's a game.
Yes, it doesn't feel like it's a game. It's
No.
all, yeah, but
But you can say, as you said, that it is playing in the game of creation. You can put it like that, yeah.
right. So obviously, then is there inbuilt into this illusion certain techniques or kind of roots out of it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. This is why we have the power to contemplate, to inquire, to meditate, to reflect. All these are
There
roots.
might be many roots, or
They all boil down to pretty much the same kind of thing. Whether there's the root of surrender, of love, of devotion, of self-inquiry, of chanting of mantras, or reflecting upon things you've heard.
What about this
or-
Kundalini stuff? I mean,
That's also a root, also.
right.
Yeah. All of these are you may call pathways.
Out of the illusion.
Yeah, to come out of the illusion. Yes. Some more difficult than
So
others.
what is the quickest way out of the quickest route? As one would say, if I wanted to go to somewhere there, what is the quickest route?
I
from A
would
to
say
B?
for myself, the quickest route is what I'm guiding you to do. The quickest route would be there, because it's like no frills, basically.
But then but if someone's enjoying the game of the, then obviously they want to stay in that game, right?
Myself also enjoy the game of the life.
But can you play the game and also get out of know the way out and come back in and know the way out? Is that possible?
You can use the word. I play the game, yet I'm aware of it as a game.
Yeah. So you could enjoy the
Or-
game and
I can use the metaphor that like a dream, that I'm in the dream, enjoying the dream, but I am awake inside the dream. I know what I am and what I am not. Not in the classic use of the word knowing it, because I don't know anything actually. I'm not having informations about it. But I am that. I am that truth. I am that. And as far as the untruth is concerned, I think it is kind of illusory. Even the untruth is true.
And what stage would you recognize like a firm conviction of being kind of like in that awareness on a cellular level, Mooji? I mean, what would be the
When you move
The signs of the
even deeper than conviction. When you go deeper than conviction, where it becomes just simple and natural for you. Conviction even is phenomenal. The self doesn't have to be convinced anymore. It just is. So conviction is still something that I am convinced about something, which is you may say, the highest form of faith, you may say, or knowledge is conviction. You can say like that.
if one realizes that if one person or one being, one manifestation realizes that the world is an illusion, a thought in the mind of God,
Yeah.
but still others exist.
The one who realizes that the world is a thought in the mind of God. or in their own mind.
Yeah.
Still moves in the world.
But the world is still existing as a illusion.
They're not going around thinking the world is an illusion, the world is an illusion. They simply know that, full stop. They know that. Yet they know that there's a purpose to it. And they know that they don't dismiss it in any kind of cynical way. They move in the world like other beings. They drink when they're thirsty, they sleep when they're tired, and so on. They understand that they have a physical body, and that they have the function of the intellect and the mind and so on, which they use also. And they know its ways. They know it's both the purer ways and the devious ways of the mind. But always they are one with themselves, and they're outside of anything that can develop as a trap in the mind. It is a very natural maturity and recognition. It's a very natural one.
So, what's the point in the whole thing? Because as I said earlier in that book, and it's quite true, that 98% of the world, if you like, is in a hypnotic rhythm of the negative kind of mind.
Yeah, they're asleep, basically.
Yeah. So, but then again, in another kind of thing with the Kabbalah, it says that it's like everyone's like on elevators to
Yeah.
They're all destined to reach back.
I uphold that.
But the elevators on different levels at the moment.
Moving at different speeds.
Yeah.
And whatever. You can look at it, those paradigms, those shapes, those ideas, they're okay. I would say that there's a current that is heading towards the ocean being the ocean of truth.
Mm.
And that all the beings are somehow being carried in the streams of that.
But even the beings, I mean, if there's any...
Say?
Because there's only the absolute, so how come there's so many beings in this absolute? There's so many different intelligence. I mean, is it like a...
Yeah, well, you see, the thing is that you've asked a very beautiful question. I can answer you in this way. That actually there are not many millions of beings. There's only the absolute. Appearing as though it is millions of beings. They're all the absolute. That's what's called the play. We're all that. We are all that. Everything that can be perceived, both the sentient and insentient forms and expressions, we're all that. The dreaming, the imagination, all of it is that. It is just a play of the absolute, the one. The one appearing to be many, diverse, different, unique. But such a realization is rare. For one to actually experience it, not just to think it. Many more can think it and imagine it, but few there are who can realize that with total profundity inside their hearts. To the stage where they are that. They don't believe that, they don't think that, they don't have a conviction about that, they are that. And they will still move upon this earth while they have the form. They will still move in a certain way and amongst the beings and appear to be different from the perspective of those who are looking at them. But inside they are totally empty. Their perfume tends to be the perfume of love and detachment towards the transient and impermanent things of the world. They're not so enamored by that. They're not so attracted or attached to those things. They see moving in the life as a dream. They do see it. Myself also, I see it. That there's nothing to really invest in because everything is changing. You know? It's not a bad thing that you yourself say. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing that things change. But if you really understood this inside your heart, you wouldn't really cling to things which are by nature changeful, including our body is changeful, our mind is changeful. But there is something within us which is not changeful. That is the self. And the only thing really worth discovering and knowing inside the heart.
the tendency to cling to certain things, for instance, let's say love. I'm talking about a relationship love, because most people, that's the, I think, the ultimate trap in a way, where you know, you might be able to conquer other traps of, you know, but the need to be loved by someone.
Yes.
You know, I think it could be the maybe the ultimate trap.
Well, the need is also an illusion. We imagine that and we fatten up that need because we put pictures to it. We create our own movie and we create context for that love story to manifest.
But what is that? Is that a kind of a deep longing for the...
It's an immaturity in us. It's also an expression of consciousness like that for a while. That we have to taste the love which is, you may call an object love, the love that needs an object to be expressed or something like this. Because when I speak of love now, I feel I'm more meaning the love which is the unity of being,
Yeah.
the totality of being.
Yeah. But is it the human being? Oh, I mean, it's so difficult because everyone wants to be loved by some person, like have a unique relationship with someone, you know, like a boyfriend and a girlfriend, or
I think you may be over exaggerating because many people, after a while, they see that the love they have, relationship love, has to become more and more refined. In the West, we have, I would say, a kind of privilege of you sometimes flirting around with different people. To see how difficult it is to find someone with whom you're really compatible.
But something yearns for that, to find that compatibility with someone.
It's part of the human kit. You understand? It's like it's part of the human kit when you're coming with a human, the notion of being a human being and the aspirations of a human being and the conditioning of a human being. You know, the need to be loved and to fall in love and to have children and to marry somebody who's a good cook and all of this type of stuff. This is all part of the human kit. It's all part of the, you know, it's a package deal, you know. And it takes time to outgrow that, you know. But I don't think that it's necessary to be alone in order to be free, to realize the self. You can have 15 children and realize the self also. Nothing actually prevents you from realizing the self. I saw a saying, it says, if you want to be happy, nobody can stop you. And I added to that, if you want to be free, nobody can stop you. Your circumstances in life doesn't have sufficient power to stop you. You may stop yourself by your imagined obstacles and so on. But in truth, these obstacles don't really exist. You know.
That was good, Mooji. Well, I mean,
I always enjoy to talk with you, you know. I don't know what it is. It's something you enjoy.
Yeah.
I like that you push and probe into it. And, you know, appear to challenge me and things in this kind of look and so on. And I really do. Also notice fresh things coming to light also because of our conversations. Yeah. I remember the conversations we had in the past now, right here in this room also.
Yeah, we had a few in here that have been good.
I think many people enjoyed those conversations and gathered a lot from them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm very grateful to how lucky I am.
Yes, yes. I think all our lives are just good fortune. I feel all our lives are good fortune. The bitter and the sweet of it is our good fortune. Because nobody grows just on, you know, sugared almonds. You know, sometimes you have to go through the mill, through the fire, like you have been as well too, to develop more understanding, more power to be in this great game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vasudeva